Okay, guys, let's wait for a minute for us to. I think I can continue now. You can all hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as I was saying, the holocrene, you think of whole, so meaning that the whole cell will have to rest to release its content. And then I
Mm.
think a good example for this one, you think of sebaceous glands. I'm going to elaborate more on sebaceous glands, what they are and how they release their contents and everything, right? Sebaceous glands. And then I said your apocrine, from the word apo, you think of apex, right? And then I said apex means peace, right? So meaning that that gland or that cell, let me say that cell because it's a multicellular cell, meaning that that those will release or they will only the piece of that cell will best to release its content. And the good example of a apocrine gland is what is your sweat gland. Sweat glands are sometimes called sudiferous glands, right? So if you see the word sudiferous, don't say I didn't teach you. That's another way of saying sweat gland. I'll elaborate when we do sweat glands before the end of this session. Are we clear so far? Going to the merocrine, right? Merocrine, I said you take the second letter, you think of exocytosis.
Mm.
Was let me check something. Is Lisang here?
Listen.
Lisang, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you fixed the network problem.
Yeah, thanks.
So you have exocytosis, and your exocytosis, I was in the process of explaining what exocytosis is. I said that if this is your cell, in your cell you'll have something like a bubble, right? Something like a bubble. So this bubble will do what? We call this bubble a what? A vesicle. We don't call this a bubble, but it's like a bubble in simplest terms. We call it what? A vesicle. Never say a bubble, please, guys. We're doing medicine, there are no bubbles here. This is a vesicle. So what this vesicle will do is that the contents of the cell, right? Let's assume this cell has saliva, right? This cell produces saliva. So that saliva will go or diffuse into the vesicle. Then what the vesicle will do, it will attach to the cell membrane, right? And then the cell membrane will wrap around. The cell membrane will wrap around the vesicle, right? And then it will eventually release this vesicle. So the vesicle will be pushed out by the cell membrane. This process of pushing out the vesicle, we call it what? exocytosis. Why exo? Exo because it's going outside. If there's a cell or a vesicle, not a cell, sorry. If there's a vesicle that comes and attaches here, it attaches here, right? And the cell membrane does what? Wraps around it, pushing it inwards. We call that what? Endocytosis, because it's coming into the cell. If it's going out of the cell, we call it what? Exocytosis. If it's coming into the cell, if a vesicle is coming into the cell, we call it what? Endocytosis. Are we clear? Are we clear?
No, yo, no.
No, yo, no. Where are you lost?
I honestly didn't really get it when you explained about the vesicle. Yo, I didn't.
Do you understand what is a vesicle from what I just explained?
Well, kind of.
Kind of, that's not good enough. Okay, a vesicle is like a bubble. I repeat, that's the simplest way for you not to forget and to visualize every time when a person says a vesicle. To your mind, you think a bubble. Okay, I have a bubble inside a cell. What does that bubble do there? The cell will use that bubble to do what? To take out its contents, or it will use that vesicle to do what? To bring contents from the outside into that cell. So I'm saying that if the vesicle is coming from the cell going outward, we call that process what? Exocytosis. But if that vesicle is coming outwards and it's coming into the cell, we call that what? Endocytosis, because it's coming into endo, right? If it's going outside, exo, it's going outside of the cell, it's exocytosis, right? So in this case, because the great example of a merocrine gland is what? Is your salivary glands. So in this case, it means that this vesicle that will be going out of the cell, it will be carrying what? Saliva. Means that the cell will synthesize saliva and it will diffuse into the vesicle. Then that vesicle will be pushed out. In this process of it being pushed out by the cell membrane, we call that what? Exocytosis. Are we clear?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. So this is just how glands secrete. We classified them by what? By their structure. We said we have single and compound. We classified them by their diameter. We said we have tubular and acina or alveolar. And now we classify them by how they secrete their contents. And we say they can secrete their contents in 3 ways. They can secrete their contents in what we call a holocrine type of a way, which is whereby a cell does what? It bursts, the whole cell bursts and then it secretes its contents. Or they can do so by merocrine. Merocrine is a way of secreting the products using what? Exocytosis. You can't speak of exocytosis and you forget to mention a vesicle. No vesicle, no exocytosis or endocytosis. Are we clear?
Yes.
And then a cell can also release its contents using what? Apocrine type of a way, right? That is where the apex, only the piece of a cell bursts to release its contents. And then for these 3 things, I only want you to know one example of each. For your holocrine, if they ask you to give an example of a holocrine gland, you give them what? Sebaceous gland, because it's an easy to remember. Like, I'll explain why. And then your merocrine, if they want you to give an example of a merocrine, you give them what? A salivary gland. If they want you to give them an example of an apocrine gland, you give them a sweat gland. Don't confuse yourself. Don't want to be fancy where it is not needed. Lisang, your hand is raised. Lisang?
Hey, I pressed by mistake.
Hey. Okay, and I understand. Are we fine, guys? Are we on the same page so far?
Very clear, very clear.
Very clear. You see, for the mere fact that you're repeating it twice, very clear, it means it's inside, it's pagati inside. So let's continue. And another thing, guys, please remind me because I didn't. This just came into my mind right now. If we finish with this, and maybe you guys will be tired. Remember or remind me, maybe tomorrow if we start a new chapter, we'll continue with this, or maybe we do a revision since maybe either one of you didn't understand. Is acrine and apocrine gland the same thing? I'm going there, don't worry. It's not the same thing. I'm going there. So, you also have to, you've heard of histology, right? Do you guys know what histology is?
Yes.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to do a histology of these glands so that I give you easiest ways, because histology chows a lot of people, because histology always, when they ask you questions about histology, they always bring pictures, and histology pictures can be messy, and you might be finding it difficult to determine which cell is which under the microscope, right? So I give you easiest ways because that's why I'm here, to make things simpler for you. I'll give you easiest ways to determine each gland under the microscope and what to look out for to know which type of a gland it is. You don't have to spend 2 minutes to know or guess. You don't have to guess. Look for certain characteristics, and then you know what type of a cell you're looking at under the microscope, right? Let's assume that they didn't tell you what cell they put under the microscope. Then they just ask you, because that is what they'll do in your exam. They'll just give you a picture. The first question is, what type of a cell is this? Why are you saying that? Where do we find this cell? What's the function of this cell? So you'll miss all those questions only to find out that all those questions maybe are worth 10 marks just because you didn't know the type of a cell it was, or you were unable to identify it. It means that you lose all of those questions because you can't know the function of something that you don't. If you don't know the structure, it's difficult for you to know the function. I hope I've made myself clear. So going to the, let me wipe out everything. Going to the accessory structures of the skin, I said we have the sebaceous glands, we have the sweat glands, we have the hair follicle, and we have nails. So I'll start with the first one. I'll go with sebaceous glands as the first one that we discuss, because my aim was to, of which I did, to tell you and explain more as to what glands are before I can even go there, right? So what you have to understand, guys, I won't write down everything, eh? So, but everything I'm saying is important. So please be careful. Sebaceous glands are glands that release oil in simplest words. Sebaceous glands, sorry, are your glands that release oil, right? They release oil. But in anatomy, we like to be fancy, as you all know. We don't call this oil, we call it what? Call it sebum, right? Some say sebum, I say sebum, right? So pronounce it however you want to, right? So it will be easier for you. Sebaceous sebum, sebaceous sebum, right? Simple. So sebaceous glands do what? Secrete oil. And for your sebaceous gland to secrete this oil, it has to burst. The whole cell has to burst. So what type of a secretion is this? Is it holocrine, apocrine, or merocrine? If the whole gland has to burst,
Holocrine.
it's hollow. Because I said hollow, you think of
Whole.
hollow, you think whole, right? So this is a holocrine. The simplest way for you to remember, now you know that what is a holocrine gland, right? Then the question is, how will I then remember if this holocrine, if a sebaceous gland uses a holocrine secretion method to secrete its content? This is simple. When we think about oil, what is the one thing that you can think about in your body that has oil or that has sebum? Something that is common, something that you get during puberty.
Pimples.
Pimples, awesome. So when you think of your sebaceous glands or when you think of oil, you know that sebaceous glands do what? The glands that release oil. And then you think of what is that one thing that has oil in my body, or what is that one thing that has oil when I'm undergoing puberty. Then you think of what? A pimple. And you know what girls like to do, right? Boy, guys never do this. It's girls. You know what girls like to do, whether it's on her face or someone's face, they like to pop the pimples, right? So you think of it, okay, if they are popping the pimple, what are they doing? They are busting the whole pimple, they are busting the whole of it, because they won't leave that pimple until they've taken out each and every bit of oil that is, or each and every sebum that is inside that pimple. So that is the simplest way to remember it. You think sebaceous glands, sebum. What is sebum? Sebum is simply oil. What is that one thing that is oily in my skin? You think of pimples. Okay, and then you think, okay, pimples. Oh, girls like to pop pimples. And when they pop pimples, they burst the pimples. They make sure that they press the whole pimple, not just a piece of it. So since they're pressing the whole of it, you think of whole holocrine. Oh, this is a holocrine. It uses a holocrine method of secretion. Are we clear? Guys, do you understand?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah. And then one other thing that you have to know about oh Jesus, sebaceous glands is that they are active, only active during
Mhm.
puberty. Only active during puberty. Meaning that when you are young, when you're still a child, your sebaceous glands, they are there, but they are not active. Right? It's active during puberty. Are we clear?
Yeah, bro.
Nice. Okay. And then, because you only, your pimples only appear when you're undergoing puberty. You don't have pimples when you're 5 years old, unless you are from somewhere. And one other thing that you have to know about your sebaceous glands is that they are always attached to your hair follicle. I think it's better if I type this, guys.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying I want to write this using, it's attached to the hair follicle, right? And then one other thing that you have to know is that this sebum, because they will ask you, before I can even forget, this sebum, they'll ask you what's the function of the sebum. Because I mean the body can't just release the sebum for no reason. Why do you think your body releases that oil?
To get rid of dirt.
To get rid of?
Get
No, that oil actually is not dead initially when it's released. The reason why you get your pimples is because
wait.
it's for lubrication.
Maybe okay.
You were saying maybe?
It's fine. I was saying maybe to protect you from dehydration. So
That can be it because oil, and for dehydration you need water.
yeah,
So yeah,
but I get it. Okay.
I'm glad you're answering, because the moment you do, you'll never forget it. Trust me. You'll remember when you're writing an exam that I once said this, and we had discussion and everything, right? So the only reason why your body secretes oil or releases oil is because it wants to lubricate your skin. You've noticed those people who have pimples, right? When, even if they can just wash their face with just water, right? Use a towel and then just wipe their face, and then they don't put any nourishment, right? After an hour or 30 minutes, what they'll be having, their skin will be oily. Then you ask yourself, how come? That is why we say you have oily skin. Where does that oil come from? It comes from your sebaceous gland. I hope that makes sense. So that is all you have to know about sebaceous glands. That they release oil, which is called sebum, right? They are active during puberty. They are attached to the hair follicle, right? And then you might ask yourself, why are they attached to the hair follicle? They use the hair follicle to secrete their contents into the hair follicle. What is their contents? Their contents is what is that sebum. Are we clear? I hope we are. Prevent dryness of the skin. Yes, to prevent dryness of the skin. And then another word they use for dryness of the skin, they use the word desiccation. Yeah? Do you understand? Guys, you guys are quiet today. What is it? You don't like attending late.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, going to the next accessory structure of the skin, we have sweat glands. I said your sweat glands have, or they are also called sudoriferous glands. Typing error there. No, there's no typing. Sudoriferous, yeah. Sudoriferous, right? So guys, I'm pretty sure you are aware that since we started since yesterday, for some of the things I give you more than one word, because those are some of the words that they can use in the examination. So I don't want you to get to a point whereby you know something, but you just don't know the weight that they used for that particular structure. So I'm giving you all the possible weights that they might use so that you are not confused when you get there. I'm not just giving you this to flex or to waste your time. You must know this. If they say pseudoreferrals, you must know, okay, they are referring to a sweat gland. If they say sweat gland, that is obvious. If they say sebaceous, you think oil. Oil, you think sebum, right? So for your sweat glands, they use okay, let me put it like this because I want you to tell me the answer. If the sebaceous gland, if that cell of the sebaceous gland has to burst, the whole of it has to burst to release its contents. We said that method is holocrine, holocrine method of secretion. Now, when it comes to sweat glands, they only release their contents by using a vesicle, but that vesicle is to go out of the cell.
Exocytosis.
Exocytosis. So it means that they use exocytosis is the process by which the vesicle releases its contents. What is the method of secretion that is used by sweat glands?
Merocrine.
Merocrine. Thank you. Do others understand how did we come to this answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Guys, this is what you must always do when you're asked such questions. Talk to yourself. Ask your brain, if this happens, what is the next thing? Don't want to cram, because the moment you cram, you won't remember everything. You'll mix things up. Anatomy is not to be crammed. If you cram, yes, you'll pass a test. After that 1 week of the test, you forget. And then you have to study all over again as if you're studying something new when you're writing an exam. But if you can, do it. And then what do you have to know again about sweat? I hope we all know, because I assume I'm not the only one who has tasted my sweat before. Have you tasted your sweat? And if you did, what was the taste like?
It is salty.
Salty. It was salty. Why do you think it was salty?
Like what?
Hmm? Guys, talk to me. Why do you think it is salty? Okay. I'll tell you. The reason why it's because it has salt. That is why it's salty. And then not only that, but it also has metabolic waste. So metabolic waste and the salt, that is why you get the salty taste. And the reason it's not bitter is because your sweat has what? 99% water. So this 99% of water will dilute the salt and it will dilute the metabolic waste. So that is why it's not bitter, it's salty. Wait here. So they will ask you, what does sweat consist of? Right? We are left with 10 minutes, guys. I think the session after this one will be the last one. If that's fine with you, if you're not tired. Are you tired?
No.
Others?
No.
Are you tired, guys?
No, we are not.
No, but you've answered me. Let others talk. Seems like people don't want to talk, but
No, we're not tired.
okay, others. Naki-san.
I was the second one to answer.
Oh, Londi.
Yes.
Katle, okay, two mates. Are you tired, guys? Listen, Tibab.
No, we're not tired.
Okay. You are the first male to join. Was it?
Revolution.
Huh? So they'll ask you what does sweat consist of. You tell them it consists of 99% water. That is the first thing that you should tell them. That is the most obvious one. I mean, sweat is water. So, but you have to be specific. 99% water. If you have tasted your sweat, you will know that it's salty. So it consists of salt as well. It also consists of antibacterial proteins, right? Even if you can just say, but this one is not that important, but because I don't think you'll find it in many textbooks, right? I'm just giving you this one because they do ask that in the exam, but you find that your textbook didn't really go much into detail with it. So the sweat also consists what? Antibacterial proteins, and it also consists metabolic waste. So when it comes to the metabolic waste, they might ask you what are those metabolic wastes. So that you have to know that it's your urea, your uric acid, and your ammonia. Are we clear?
Mm.
And your ammonia. Are we clear? So another thing, we are left with 6 minutes. Another thing that we have to know is that sweat glands have a long duct, right? They have a long duct which carries the product to the surface of the skin. So if this is your sweat gland, because they are coily, right? They are coily, and then it will have a long duct that will go to the surface of the skin. That is where your sweat will come, right? And I don't know if you've asked yourself this question or I'm the only person who's crazy, but I'm curious, guys. I'm one person who's curious. I've always asked myself if this is like this because the force of gravity says that things are pulled down, right? So how come is this sweat able to move from downwards to upwards? What pushes it? It's not magic. Eh? And the answer to that question is that you have cells here. You have cells here. I don't think this is in your textbook. I don't, but check it. And I don't know if Dr. McNeil told you, but there are cells here. What is the name of those cells? It's your myoepithelial cells. Let me write them down. Myoepithelial. Myoepithelial cells. What do the myoepithelial cells do? They press against the duct. They press or they push against it. Meaning this ones on this side will push to that side, this one's on this side will push to that side. As they push, they move the sweat upwards. They move it upwards because they push it. The sweat can't return because it will be closed here. Then this one's also push, this one's also push until it is excreted outside. Do you understand? So it's like they squeeze it then they contract as they go upwards until that sweat is released on the surface of the skin. And then they do what? They relax until you have to release sweat again. Are we clear? And these myoepithelial cells, what tells them to contract, what tells them to relax, is the changing temperature. When it's hot, they contract, because when it's hot, you sweat, right? When it's cold, they relax, because you can't sweat when it's cold. You have to retain the temperature. Are we clear? Good people, are we clear?
Yes.
Yes, we're clear.
Okay. And then what you have to know is that we have two types of sweat glands. I left with 1 minute, 3 minutes. I hope I can be able to finish this. We have two types of sweat glands. We have apocrine glands, and then we have acrine glands. These are not the method of secretion. These are the type of sweat glands we have. I know this is the method of secretion. But when it gets here, when you say apocrine sweat glands, it's no longer the method of secretion. Although that will mean that they secreted by just a piece of the cell and everything. But this is now the type of the gland. I don't know if I'm making sense. Meaning that you have apocrine sweat glands and you have acrine sweat glands. Let me not stop confusing you. Just know that. And know that these ones are the most abundant. And they are found, the acrine are the most abundant, and they are found everywhere in your skin. These ones are only found in certain places, right? Your apocrine, they're only found in your armpits, and they are found in your genital areas. Another way they can use, if I can even forget, another way they can use, he said that they are found in your armpits and the genital area. Have you noticed that some people have smelly armpits? And some people, I don't know for whatever reason, what you'll be doing in someone's genital area. But some people, let me not say some people, everyone has their scent. Everyone have, we left with 1 minute. We all have our scent. Ne? So you might be asking yourself, why are the armpits smelly and why is the genital area smelly also? It might not be smelly in a bad way, but it smell, the smell from your genital area and your smell from your